It's the GMR Podcast. It's week 9. Well, show 9. Week 9. It was a couple weeks ago because we took those weeks off.
Episode 9.
That's over with. Remember when the episode and the week matched up? Those were the beginning days.
Yeah. And now, episode 9 matches up with 9 weeks to ComiCon.
That's true. It's a very sedate episode tonight. It's just, I'm Marty, and over here is Gene.
Yeah.
And R is out in the world doing stuff.
Important stuff, I hope.
Yeah.
Maybe get working. You know, you see the street fair was this weekend?
No.
We should go right after this. Street fair. Something to think about. You're going to see us down there at the street fair later on tonight. It's going to be pretty fun. Yeah, you probably won't catch this because we're not live yet. At some point, we'll just be live. We'll do a couple live ones.
It feels like doing television.
It does.
It's just you look back at it and there's no picture.
Yeah. Well, that's good. For me, because...
we've advanced beyond picture.
Yeah. That little logo is fine.
Yeah. And
you know what you're listening to.
Cliff subscribed to the podcast, now on iTunes.
Nice,
and
nice.
One of the first things he says is, you could use a better logo. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all for that, as well as a theme song. You know, we're working towards it.
It's only week 9, people.
Yeah.
Takes a while to get something right. But listen to episode 1.
And compare. Yeah.
This is, we made vast improvements.
Episodes 1 through 7 will slowly be trickling onto iTunes, and if you really want to hear those in the meantime, they're still on YouTube, as well as the current episodes. So, and no Steve-O again this week.
No.
Again,
Steve-O.
what am I talking about again? He was here last time.
Yeah. I guess he, I didn't call anybody this week. It's been kind of a down week. So... And he didn't call me. We actually hung out Monday. Me, him, and John, my bass player. I mentioned him before. Apparently, Apparently, we're going to get the band back together. Just like the old days.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, we'll be doing new stuff.
It's ComiCon.
ComiCon.
They still haven't put out the program.
No
yet.
new program yet.
Very soon. It's got
9 weeks.
Yeah, we only got 9 weeks.
Why don't you tell them?
Well, the big scoop is
Exclusive scoop.
Exclusive. The web show
For your podcast only.
Yes, the web show, Jean, the alien interviews. You know that show that we did or had something to do with.
The one that you and Cliff wrote?
Yeah, it got accepted into the Phoenix ComiCon Film Festival, so that's going to be awesome. So that gives 9 weeks to ComiCon a whole new slant for me.
They'll be playing that right there in our hotel.
Yeah, right in the hotel.
We won't even have to leave the hotel.
Exactly. That's what I was telling Cliff.
It'll be pretty exclusive. It'll be pretty nice. We'll have to go check the pool out, see if those Mandalorians. We'll have to own that hotel, man.
So that should be sometime on the Saturday afternoon, and Cliff is even considering coming out for it. He's sounding very positive about it, so that's going to be a surprise. So, the entire group will be up there. A big chunk of us will be there for the world premiere of John and its first film festival.
That'll be podcast 18.
Yeah.
If everything goes smoothly.
Mm-hmm. And we'll do 3 podcasts while we're up there. 1 Friday, 1 Saturday, 1 Sunday. Bonus episodes. You know.
Nice.
And then you said they have a whole room devoted to podcasting.
Yeah, somewhere.
I'll have to check that out, and then maybe
I got it
as soon as
marked
next year.
Here somewhere.
And see, I'm all thinking about you don't talk when the other person is talking, and I'm so guilty of it. But I'm learning, people. I'm learning.
Yeah, I don't want to talk over Marty. Last week was pretty intense in here. I had two conversations going at once. It was like the old days, except we didn't have music cranked in the background.
Completely drowning out other conversations. And
It was crazy back then.
it would take care of itself. It would drown out the things that weren't supposed to be said on the
I
air
just
anyway.
watched episode 20. I think it was episode 21, where you'd brought your CD mixer down there, like a 6-disc changer or some shit.
Height of technology.
And you had to walk there because they had blown you off and didn't give you a ride. So you walked through from your neighborhood carrying
Oh,
your...
wow. I remember that night.
That was the first night they'd left us there all alone.
That was the Judgment show, I think.
No, that was... Well, it was the one where Dan left us there all alone and we did... they were at the UFO conference.
Oh.
And we did a breakout, the first
That's
breakout.
like the week after that, I think. Because we were sitting in front of the cafe. It's somewhere in those 20s, those early 20s.
No, I just watched it. That's what I'm saying.
That's an interesting one.
We got to start catching up one of these days on watching all those episodes because there's a lot of episodes.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other interesting stuff that we've completely forgotten about tucked away.
I just stumbled across it. Yeah.
Wow. That we did 5 hours that night.
Yeah. We did over half the... We did the Sports Beat guys. We got those guys on. I don't know who else was there, but I remember we were talking about that.
The first couple hours, I think
That was...
you were holding it down with maybe somebody had given the equipment to set up, right?
Yeah, Dan was there
Oh.
until we went on the air. Then he took off.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't leave us there alone until...
Yeah, I remember breaking down the sports guys, and then we probably played... We were playing that Shane Eden
The
show.
Shane
as,
Eden
as
show
the
as a filler. That was a classic, yeah.
Yeah, that one's on YouTube. Type in Shane Eden show, and you'll see that one. That one has Alpha and 6 on it.
It was classic. And then Greg, the Ugly Truth Johnson, called in. So there at some point there's like all these major egos on the stage, and they're all just debating and talking about the Constitution, and it was pretty good shit. It was pretty classic shit.
We had the first appearance of Frank that night.
That was the first appearance of Frank, and little did we know. How long was he with us, Frank? Was he with us till the end?
Frank was with us from then till about the early Couch Slug time period. Once all those kids started showing up, we saw him less and less until we just didn't see him at all anymore.
Which was sad because he was a great Ed McMahon. He just sat there and laughed at everything. I mean,
Yeah.
in retrospect, that night we were just like, hey, who is this guy?
There's a great breakout with him later. There's so much footage. We used to do a show from 3 to 6 a.m. in the alleyway in Tucson, Arizona. The alleyway. There's only one alleyway. Well, it's called Arizona
Alley.
And we'd sit down there and do a public access TV show in the middle of the night, and all sorts of crazy people would walk by, and we probably did 200 or so hours of stuff. But that's what we're referring to for those of you who are going, what the hell are they talking about? Because we're on iTunes now. I got to set up the little explanation. But there was this one setup that they were showing, and I somehow got it recorded, where these drunk people were fucking with Dan and and Kevin. And they were just like, get away or something. They're like yelling at him and pushing some dude, and they're just like all stumbling. And I'm like, oh, this is some of the greatest footage ever. I don't know where it is, but I know it's in one of those spindles
somewhere.
Yeah.
Great. We're gonna have to put all that shit on YouTube.
Oh,
like
the best stuff. Yeah.
Piece out every episode of that.
Yeah, there's plenty of good stuff that.
Even though the music is there, it's not that.
Yeah, there's parts where there is no music too, so.
And it's not like you can understand or...
Yeah, if it's properly garbled, nobody's going to care.
I don't think anybody's going to care anyway.
Well, you'll know right away. A lot of times they'll just put an ad for the song and leave the video.
I had a 3-hour slot for a while.
Oh, that's
I used
right.
to tape a 3-hour show every week, live in the studio.
You'd have to put 1 hour on a different tape.
I had to turn in 2 tapes a week, yeah.
Oh, that would confuse them. I remember when we were doing that in the last days of random access.
It was like that, yeah. I was trying to continue that. Once we had split up at that point,
One
I was
tape had
just
a
trying to
half
continue.
hour, and they'd show like the wrong extra half hour, and it would mix and match, or sometimes it wouldn't come on at all. It was
We're going to have to do a separate podcast just about the public access years. And
really.
try and recall that stuff. Maybe we can do one of those with Cliff up there, because
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw Cliff. No, probably wasn't the first time. I remember one time he's just like bouncing a ping pong ball off the wall and like maybe catching it in his mouth. That's not possible.
I have footage of that, I think.
Back when the Smokers Lounge used to be right by the front door,
Yeah.
with vending machines, and that was like that was like Larry Beiser's office, right there, right by the Smokers Lounge. It was fucking great. You could just sit in there. There's a couch and a fucking vending machine.
Yeah, when it was, you'd walk in and there was the smokers lounge.
Yeah, and now you can't. You're not even supposed to smoke 20 feet by the door, although everybody does.
And everybody used to gather in that little room and smoke. And then the equipment checkout was like right behind it, right?
Equipment checkout was still always.
What was that little gate back there? Like you'd go in to the building and you'd go into the smokers lounge. And then as you first walked in, there was like something like locked off. And I know they were storing something back
Might
there.
have just been a storage room.
One of those
or
places you
an
weren't supposed to
office.
go, yeah.
It was just an office. Because I think the checkout room has always been where it's not there anymore. I don't know where they do checkouts. I guess they do it in the front part of the room, because there's like 2 sections there. Nobody knows what we're talking about.
We're talking about the layout of the access
public access
Tucson
building, which should be available to anybody who wants to find out. Just check your public records downtown. I wish we had a link to that. I think if we were that efficient, we had links to that sort of thing.
Well, I can actually do that now that we have the Buzzsprout site and the iTunes.
Nice. This iTunes thing is going to pay off. I told you once we started this, yeah, people are gonna catch on. We may only have 20 listeners right now, but I'm sure Tell 'em Steve Dave, they probably had a built-in audience just because it was on the Smodcast thing, and people are going to check out the guy who's been doing the Smodcast. How long have they been doing the Smodcast?
Oh, a couple of years at least.
Like 2007,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. That's a long time ago.
That is a long time.
So those guys have been, Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier. They've been doing this for quite a while. 7 years, and look how far they built up their stuff. Of course, they're both producers and have real jobs and things like that. But so are we. We're going to be at Comic-Con.
That's right. 9 weeks. And not just as spectators this time.
And I'm going to go to a steampunk fashion show.
I'm sure they'll still have that.
Oh, they got to. First, I'm going to go to the steampunk clothing. Check out that. So I look kind of steampunk, Maybe, let's see, what does that cost? Is that free? Because some of these cost, you give some money, and then they give you the kit, and they help you make your thing.
Yeah.
And that sounds like fun. So I heard the Oz movie isn't that good.
Oh, yeah.
Heard about that.
It made a lot of money.
Well, sure. You're going to see it, right?
Maybe at some point, just because it's Sam Raimi.
Yeah, it's a Sam Raimi movie. That new Evil Dead movie looks pretty good.
Yeah, that'll be out in a couple weeks.
It looks actually scary, as opposed to Evil Dead 2, which was just like a parody of Evil Dead 1.
Yeah.
Which is the strangest idea one of the stranger ideas. The first movie was just like, it was one of those movies you rented on video.
Yeah.
Like when they first got the video store in your neighborhood, and you went to the video, that was like one of the ones, that and Faces of Death. They were like the scary shit that you shouldn't be watching.
Yeah, before the video stores were all Blockbuster and shit. They were mod pod type video stores, and they'd stock all this weird shit.
Yeah, I don't know if that shit's on Netflix anymore. I'm sure it is. Faces of Death. Who wants to watch that? Those are just horrible, horrible movies. But I guess if that's what you're into, if you're a serial killer or that sort of thing,
Now
that's
on
great.
Blu-ray.
But like when the first time your girlfriend floats above the floor or stabs you in the foot with a pencil, right? When you're floating above the floor, that's it. Game over. That's a good movie. That's a good movie concept.
And by the time they get to the third one, it's total comedy.
Isn't that what didn't that inspire you to make movies?
Oh yeah.
Just and knowing how they made it was just a bunch of college kids, right?
Yeah, he was like 19 when he made that movie. So,
like no budget, just in a cabin out in the woods somewhere. And the scariest thing is just a camera going through the woods, and that's just like the cheapest shit. I don't know how they did the vortex at the end, but that was pretty good.
Oh, that's in that second one.
It's not in the first one?
No. They had a little bit more money.
How does the first one end?
He just walks outside in the daytime. Oh, spoiler alert. He walks outside in the daytime, and then that thing runs through the woods again, and then it just stops. It hits him, and then we go to the credits.
Because you never get out of the woods.
No.
Unless you go through time.
Yeah.
And then maybe somehow, and then you're just a kick-ass sort of dude. And those other movies really launched Bruce Campbell's career.
Yeah, they really did. I remember that Army of Darkness came out. I saw it the day it came out twice in a row, the first two screenings. There was maybe like 2-3 other people in the theater.
Really?
Yeah, nobody knew what that shit was still. And then I went to go see it with Cliff and West and a couple other people at the Dollar Theater on the last night. It was at the Dollar Theater, and this was maybe 3 or 4 months later, and it was packed. All these crazy college students all screaming and getting into the movie, and I was like, wow, it only took a couple months for it to go from what to it caught on. And then years and years later, after the whole Hercules, Xena, and Jack of all trades and all that stuff, and now everybody's all Evil Dead, Bruce Campbell, crazy.
He's on some show called
Burn Notice.
Burn Notice. I see the commercial for that all the time because it's on the same channel wrestling's on.
Yeah, in the 80s, you were looked at as like, what are you doing watching that weird shit? I'm all, this is awesome. And then, it took 20 years for the rest of the world to catch up. I know I wasn't the only person watching that stuff then, but definitely in the minority, though. But yeah, everybody would rent these things from the video store, like you were saying. So the quest to find the most fucked up movie you can find at the video store.
Or music. You'd find Iron Maiden video. I remember they had all the Iron Maiden videos. It had some weird Black Sabbath videos.
Oh, yeah. And that was the only way to see that stuff then. Yeah, you had to go to the video store then.
And then they started renting Nintendo games, and then you'd rent those, and then you'd try and beat them in 3 or 4 days or whatever.
By the time they started renting video games, it was all over with.
Yeah. But I still was going to that same store.
Yeah.
That's where I rented my first porn when I turned 18. And I was like, wow, I'm renting porn.
There was that brief window where Nintendo cartridges were rented. Wow.
That's right. I was there.
It was like, I got to beat this frickin' game before I take it back in a few days.
That's where I played the first Batman game. That was like the best game ever, where you were like a ninja and you're jumping from wall to wall. I just thought that was the baddest thing I ever saw in my life.
I got that for free in the mail because I was in that Nintendo Power magazine thing.
Oh yeah, I subscribed to that. That was awesome.
So any kind of put your name on a mailing list thing, I would sign up for then. And then one day I came home from school and there was, here's a free copy of Batman for NES. I'm like, oh shit. The only way I ever beat it was with the Game Genie.
I think I beat it. I'm not sure. Because I remember seeing the end of it. That was the payoff back then, was the animated
Yeah.
the CG at the end. That was like what the payoff was for any game. That was it. You didn't have anything like that during the game. You could just do basic moves, but at the end there'd be like some little video, and if there wasn't, or if it was a shitty video, well, that game kind of sucked.
Yeah, if you get to the end, it was like, what? That was it.
Didn't make any sense.
The end. It's like, damn it. I remember beating like Legend of Zelda for the first time, and you're seeing those end credits, and it's like, damn. And the credits would go for like 3 or 4 minutes, and it's music you have never heard before. And,
Yeah, I never beat Zelda. Wasn't good at that.
or like beating Metroid, and then the
Metroid.
helmet comes off. And,
I've been watching a series of old wrestling videotapes, and there's like all these different commercials for these Metroid games, like 6-7 years apart, different systems and shit. It's crazy, but they all revolve around the same thing. It's like the payoff that you got in that first Metroid game, where you found out that Metroid was a chick. Yeah, that's like the payoff of that. The whole commercial is just like this,
I had that Nintendo strategy guide book.
Always got the strategy guides. Those were awesome.
That was the only way I was beating some of that stuff. The funny thing about Zelda was it had a battery in the game cartridge to save your game. After a few years, the battery would die.
Bummer.
There's a way to open it up and put another battery in, but you gotta know what you're doing.
What if you switch it real quick? It's gonna retain the info.
No, the info's gone, but you can start saving stuff again with the new battery.
Couldn't you just at this point just find the game as an app somewhere?
Well, of course,
and you can just play the Zelda, or just get the Wii U, right? Or Wii, and
Wii, and you can buy the games and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to play
modern
it on
technology,
that old cartridge system.
They have an ad for a new Assassin's Creed 4. Assassin's Creed 3 just came out. They put out an Assassin's Creed game like every year, and I don't think it's been a year. And it says also for next gen, coming for next gen systems. So they're already talking about the next generation of systems. And I haven't played like 80% of the old games I want to play.
PS4 coming. Just make the other stuff cheaper.
I hope it's compatible with PS2, because I just want to play some PS2 games, man. Story time with Will Wheaton. That would have been fun. That was only $10.
Yeah, that's one you had to pay more.
Yeah, $10 though. If you really like Will Wheaton. Okay. Marvel Heroes. Wouldn't it be fun just to get involved in a game of Marvel Heroes for like an hour?
Oh, it's probably going to take more than an hour.
Maybe 5.
It's more like it. Well, Cliff said he wanted to do some gaming. So.
Maybe we get some 5-hour energy, know?
Ooh.
No?
Instant lockjaw.
Haha.
That's what it is for me, anyway.
Okay.
They try to advertise that like it's health food or something.
Okay, did I discuss this last time? iPod Fate or Destiny?
What is that?
Like, how when your iPod shuffles, like, why is it playing this song now?
Oh, yeah, I think they're possessed.
Yeah.
They'll
There's
do
something
weird
going
things.
on.
Yeah.
I think that's just something. Yeah, it's good to have a third person here. Maybe I should have called Steve-O, but Steve-O's got so much energy. I hate to use it all up in a couple episodes.
Well, usually Ray's here, but he had something come up, so.
I'm sure Mark would have liked to have been here, but he didn't indicate that he was available. So you think it's fate?
There's something going on, and other times it doesn't match up to anything. But sometimes the iPod, it's very creepy, the things that it picks when you put it on shuffle. I can hear every little everything.
Every little everything we breathing?
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
The little movement of the microphone.
Yeah, there was one week where I just couldn't stop handling the microphone.
Oh, so you just hear all that. Especially these, because they're video game controller microphones, and they got the little thing inside of them, the sensor, so when you shake it, and I think that's the noise we get.
Yeah, I just couldn't stop fucking with the mic one day because I was way too wired. I think that was the episode before we went to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so wired. Too much caffeine. I guess not too much because I was up all night.
Yeah.
If it had been too much, I would have. Yeah, the podcasting room is in the Hyatt.
Yeah, we didn't visit that last year.
And that's like every day of the week. From looks about 11 hours of podcasting every day. That's a lot of podcasting.
It definitely is.
We're gonna have to go talk to those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could borrow their equipment or something.
And who knows? Maybe you can just go in and record your podcast there or something.
knows?
You know,
We don't
make
know.
it make it a lot easier. You know, it's like, hey, we got microphones and headsets. Let's do it that way. And so otherwise, we'll just record it in the hotel room.
Yeah, it's not a motel. It's a hotel. It's the
That's
Hyatt
right.
Regency.
Right across the street from the.
Phoenix Convention Center. I think that's what it's called. It's pretty nice. You can't beat it.
Yeah, I'd rather stay there than anywhere else up there. So, just because it's so convenient.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe try out the other hotel, but then why do that?
Yeah.
Because that one's right there, and if we get the balcony, which I always want the balcony, if possible. Just
Yeah,
'cause you
we
can
got
go out
something. I don't know
'cause
what it is.
You can go
but-
out there and smoke. I want to be able to smoke.
Well, it's a smoking room, so.
Yeah. But I don't want to be smoking in the room. I want the balcony. It was so nice, the balcony, just sitting out there at night and watching weird shit like the Wolverine. There were these guys on these, what would you call them? Rickshaws, sort of, bicycle rickshaws.
Yeah.
And they were dressed as comic book characters, and there was like some sort of altercation downstairs. I'm not really sure. It was Wolverine versus somebody. I'm not really sure what was going on, but it looked interesting. Wish we had more. That's the kind of thing where, we just
Oh, we'll have video this year.
have more video this year.
We'll get Mark to videotape all the Jean activities.
I think this might be just the thing I need to. If I get enough footage, I could put together a little TV, public access show about it,
Yeah.
and then I could use public access equipment to. I don't know. You probably could just edit it right here, just as easy.
Because they're basically using the same stuff, but you just got to book the time.
And they're only open 2 days a week or whatever. But you only have 2 days off a week.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Anyway, I'm thinking, put together a show. Maybe call it Rubbing the Dolphin. Who knows?
Yeah. There's episodes of Rubbing the Dolphin that have never been shown.
Yeah, those are strange episodes. I have them somewhere. I like to think, nobody wants to steal my old videotapes.
Yeah, that's one thing that nobody gives a shit about is videotape.
Although somewhere out there are the comic book diaries. 2 episodes of that, 2 copies of that still sealed. That probably were easy sale, You could sell that at the pawn shop for whatever, $1, right? Look, it's got an official seal on it, right?
Good luck.
Somebody out there has got it.
If I could have sold those at the pawn shop for $1, I would have.
What'd you do with those? What ended up with those?
They're in circulation now.
You just got them out there,
Yeah.
let them floating around. Phil Lamar was there last year.
Yeah, you were talking about that last week.
I was.
And that we needed to Google who that was.
Did we ever do that?
No. And I remembered who he was, and now I don't again.
Oh, it's a good movie? Star Trek First Contact.
Oh, that's one of the few I haven't seen still.
Yeah, I don't know which episode it was, or which in the series, Star Trek
8.
whatever. 8? Wow, it's weird to think there are that many Star Trek movies.
There's 11.
Yeah, if you count this new one as a continuation of that.
Well, no.
Which I guess it is
got
because
Spock in
Spock
it,
is in
yeah.
it. So there is a link.
Star Trek 11.
Somehow, yeah, there's a total link. Like the further adventures of Spock.
Yeah, we'll see Star Trek 12 after Comic-Con.
That'll be crazy.
And then Cliff will get to visit that theater, which should be pretty fun.
Is he going to fly? Would he fly back from Tucson at that point?
No.
We just
We
zip him?
figure pick him up in Phoenix and then drop him off in Phoenix. It's because just one flight that way. Cheaper.
There's no direct line from here to Oklahoma City.
It's more expensive.
Wow.
I figure it's just easier that way. That way the whole trip's kind of affordable. I told him fly in Friday morning and then leave like on Sunday evening because then we go see that movie and take to the airport because that's all pretty close.
It's hard to tell out there. I feel like I'm in a totally different... Yeah, the Phoenix trips me out. It's a weird, weird place.
Yeah, I'm starting to learn the streets, Washington, Jefferson, how downtown works.
Monroe.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, I won't even need the MapQuest anymore. I'll know where I'm going. Exit 153A? Okay. Like when we had the two GPSs and both of them were wrong.
Yeah.
And yet we still found the place and a parking spot.
And if we hadn't timed it just like that, we wouldn't have saw we would not have saw JJ on his little scooter.
Yeah, yep.
Carrying his chair. It's crazy. Comic-Con.
Yeah, already. Well, we still got 2 months, but that's coming up. 9 weeks. And now March is almost over with.
What did you do on St. Patty's Day?
It worked.
It worked?
It's pretty calm. You wouldn't even have known it was St. Patrick's Day.
You guys
so
didn't
that was
have any,
calm, yeah.
no sorts of events at your work?
No, that was just a regular old day. Well, it was kind of nice. Nobody around here being crazy.
It's weird. I took the bus over here today, and normally the number 9 is like packed. Yeah, and I didn't even want to talk about the bus. It was just
We
just
did
horrible.
a whole podcast about bus rides back in the early
Yeah.
ones. So Steve-O said the first podcast was good.
He liked it. Yeah, he was all jazzed, and he's like
I'm gonna have to listen to that
cracking
again
up. Yeah,
because
I
that
found
shit's
it-
old now.
I found it very hard to listen to because the audio was so.
Wow, imagine if I hadn't gotten microphones.
Oh yeah, we would have stopped by now, right?
No, it would still sound like we were in a hallway.
Yeah, that would suck. That's what I'm saying. Why would we continue to suck after 9 weeks? But the first episode of Tell 'em Steve Dave, before they were called Tell 'em Steve Dave.
Oh, when they were called joint counter joint.
Yeah, that sounded horrible. And then some of the early episodes sounded pretty bad, not nearly as crisp as these. And I'm not sure why that is. I'm assuming it's the equipment they were using.
Probably.
Wow, I'm gonna have to write new notes for next week because I ran through all my notes.
It'll be podcast 10.
Some of my notes, I'm looking back and I'm like having a real hard time even telling what they say. And then when I realize what they say, I'm like, I can't say that out loud. People might take me seriously.
That's the scary part about live podcasting. But we've done live TV forever, so what's the difference? The audience isn't much bigger.
Did you talk about Joel coming to
Oh
the
yeah,
Loft
that's
next
only
week?
in like 2 weeks, huh? Yeah, April 6th, Joel Hodgson from MST3K will be at the Loft. And it's going to be awesome. He's doing his stand-up one-man show.
Yeah, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
It's kind of like a history of his life slideshow presentation.
I'd love to see TV's Frank, and not the new show's Frank. Although that'd be interesting.
The
See
new
him do like an hour.
I'd watch that.
He was great.
He
Frank.
was a character.
I mean, at the time, it was hard to appreciate him because you're out there and, yeah, it got a little weird sometimes. But he would laugh and
He
he'd
would
just
laugh.
enjoy it. And somehow he still had beer at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. He started to get into the hosting of the program after a while. He'd like get there and he'd have his mic and he'd be watching the TV and he'd be all into it.
Could have done a lot more with that show if there would have been a little more focus there.
Well, it was the mid-'90s. I don't
It
think
was the
there was
mid-'90s.
such a thing as focus.
It was pretty renegade stuff, too.
The whole point was to just be almost obnoxious in a way, I felt.
And the only two people you could count on was me and Marty. Was there a week when you weren't there and it was just me, or when I wasn't there?
There was a few where you went home early, but I don't recall a week that you weren't there. I don't recall that.
And that was probably just because I'd gotten too drunk or something. Or I really needed to see that X-Men episode.
Or you went and bought a boombox.
What?
You left early to go buy a boombox.
Oh, I had to go buy a boombox. Who gave me a ride that morning? Because where do you buy a boombox at 5 o'clock in the morning?
It was like Walmart or something.
Gotta get to Walmart and buy that boombox, dude, because... Well, I really enjoyed that, too. I believe I listened to a lot of music on that. That was when I lived on the east side.
Yeah, going to Zia Records and getting the used CDs. Like used CDs, yeah. People sell their old ones. You can buy them cheap.
The bus I took today went right through the 4th Avenue Street Fair, right down 6th Street.
So I'm glad I'm not doing live show because when there's events downtown, it's such a bitch to drive through.
The place is... Oh, right in front of the studio, it's totally jammed. There's like... Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it, dude.
It's such a mess. I tried to turn in shows the other week, and it's just totally messed up situation.
Downtown's pretty messed up right now. There's a thing in the paper about how people are pissed off about it, but I guess that's not really news.
A couple of days ago, I lost a piece of paper, and it was really frustrating.
Yeah.
And then I found it.
Yeah, where was it?
It was like hiding in a corner.
See, I envy you, because you have a place where you can track down things.
It took about a half hour, though.
But still, you knew.
You know, you see it fall, and so you know it's somewhere in that vicinity, and you look, and it's just not there. It doesn't make any sense. And then finally, you find it, like, tucked
in the most obscure place.
Mm-hmm.
Probability. That's usually where all my that's where all my shit goes. Someday, I'll find my shit. I doubt it, but maybe. It's all out there somewhere.
With all those lost socks and...
My stuff. Yeah.
It goes right to the pile.
Exactly. And someday,
goes to the tubes.
If I had a wish, if I had a genie, that would be my first wish. I want my stuff back.
Everything I ever lost.
Just in a warehouse. Just put it in a warehouse.
You'd be like, wow, I forgot I even had that.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. I'm looking forward to that. Oh. More caffeine. I feel like I was more lively last week.
Last week was that lively comeback show.
Yeah.
Everybody was full of energy and very silly.
And then it was over, and then it was like I had to go catch a bus.
Mm-hmm. Had to catch the red eye.
And I just barely caught that bus. My foot was doing that thing it did at ComiCon the first time we went.
Got to get foot loose.
And it was awful. It was just a bad start of a bad week for me. But I guess the week's turning around. Can't stay bad forever.
Yep.
Something will happen. I almost died Wednesday.
Wow, and you waited till towards the end of the talk. Well, you were building up for the big story.
Yeah, I couldn't like stand up straight. I was like bent over, and my guts felt like they were like there's a big. I don't know what they felt like. It's hard to describe. Then I went to the store to get a lighter because I didn't have a lighter, and I'm like, oh, I was barely making any progress. It's just horrible, horrible. And then I slept it off. So it's not the first time it's happened to me. It was the first time. That's the longest it ever lasted. So maybe someday I'll check that out. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe things will start. I won't be so depressed, and I'll feel like doing things like taking care of myself and shit, and not dying.
Yeah, you got to get into training for ComiCon.
ComiCon. Yeah, see, my training's all up. Before I was doing things 5 days a week. I was going over to Steve-O's, and I'd walk from Grant to his house, and then I'd walk from his house to Glenn. So that's a good walk. That's more than you get just sitting at home watching wrestling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like today on the bus, my back was kind of hurting a little bit, and my back never hurts a little bit. And I'm like, what the hell? Must be because I'm getting out of shape. Got to keep busy.
Yeah.
Except I didn't get a monthly bus pass this month. So
got to take care of that.
I got 2 weekly 10 rides, and then I promptly lost one. And then the second one, I guess I am talking about the bus. The second one was it stopped working halfway through, and then some drivers were writing the info on the thing. And then today I went to catch the bus because I have $1.50 left on it, according to what the drivers have written. And this driver's like, I don't write things. And then the other one was like, because I didn't even get on that bus. I was just too pissed. I had to go borrow money. And then the next driver's like, I don't have a pen. And I'm like, okay. And I threw in the 50 cents. And I was like, okay. So now I'm out $1.50. I'm actually out $6.50 because I lost one of my 10 rides. That's my story. All right, let me talk about this Marvel Treasury Edition that you found.
All right.
Marvel Treasury Edition, number 23, Conan the Barbarian, giant sized. Conan on the Cross, the most famous Conan exploit of all. Plus, the very first Conan newspaper comic strip adventure.
Yeah.
Wow, I wonder what year this was.
79, I believe.
1979, that sounds right. I used to love these things. $2. Now, $2 was pretty pricey for a comic back then.
But that's when comics were the correct size.
Yeah, this makes me feel like you're a kid again, because this is like what comics were like when you were little. They were big, and it took 2 hands to read them.
That thing seemed like twice as big when you were a kid.
Oh yeah, it was huge. I had all the Kiss ones. I had any one of these I could get my hands on.
I remember they had the Star Wars ones.
Oh yeah, they had all the movie ones. I had every movie adaptation I could get my hands on. Those were classic. I don't know why they still don't do that.
For those of you at home, the Marvel Treasury Edition is an oversized book. Yeah, how big is that? It's like a 14 by 7 or something. It's about twice the size of a regular comic book. But they stopped printing those sometime in the 80s, right?
That's about a foot.
Yeah.
About a foot, 13 inches. The 80s, yeah. I forget the last movies. I remember there was I had Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Then they put it in kind of like a magazine format, like Savage Sword of Conan, that oversized magazine.
Yeah, those are awesome too. Those black and white Conans. I just love those old Conan stories.
Well, I would have bought every comic back when, if I had been older and had a job, because they were so cheap. I would have just subscribed to everything.
Then you get the different cover.
Yeah. I mean, $2 for that'd be a great price. Nowadays, it would be like $10 for a book like that.
Yeah.
The pages would be all glossy.
The Marvel versus DC, they had it at ComiCon here in Tucson. I think it was here in Or was it Phoenix? It was in
I think
Phoenix.
it was the Phoenix one, yeah.
Yeah, because I would have bought it here in Tucson because I had like $40 that I quickly blew at Comic-Con. Quickly.
It does not take long.
Anyway, it's got like a Hulk versus Superman. This crazy shit. First time in color. Conan. So maybe back then they just had a Savage Conan, the black and white ones.
Oh yeah, that ran for a long time.
This is a special collector's issue.
They had several Conan books going back then, didn't they? They had Conan the Barbarian, of course, and the Savage Sword of Conan, and then Conan the King.
I believe that, yeah.
Was there another one?
I'd like to read those Conan the Kings because they were all like, that was the whole thing. Like, eventually he's going to be king and have his own land. That just sounds boring, right?
That's why they never made that movie.
He's just sitting on the throne telling people to do stuff. And yeah, I want to see that movie again, the first Conan. Now, that was an awesome movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger and...
Oliver Stone.
That was an Oliver Stone movie?
He wrote it, yeah.
Wow.
Then he did Scarface like right after that, so he was really coked out of his gourd right then, but he was making some interesting writing.
I think I mentioned this somewhere, probably on public access. That was my first R-rated movie.
Oh.
And the only reason I remember that, I think, is because I saw it on public access. Like, I can't remember which was my first R-rated movie. I thought for a while, I thought it was. And it might still be Saturday Night Fever.
Oh. See, I wanted to go see that, but nobody would take me to go see it because they'd already seen it, and it was R. And then they put out the PG version of Saturday Night Fever like 6 months to a year later, and I was like, "Oh, you can take me to go see that." And they're like, "That's old. We don't want to go see the chopped up version." So I had to wait for TV for that. There was
a little bit of nudity and kind of like a rape scene in it. It was a fucked up movie, John Travolta. And then they fucked with that one kid, and I don't remember. Wow, there's another movie that I probably should watch. It's been 30 years.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time. The first R-rated movie I saw at the theater was at the Tucson 5 Drive-In. It was Psycho 3. I remember watching Aliens on the other screen most of the time, like thinking, why didn't we should have went and saw that.
Aliens 3?
Aliens.
Oh,
the second one.
The sequel.
Mm-hmm. And that was like brand new at the time. And
that was the fun of driving when you were a kid.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching 2-3 movies at once, you know.
You'd see nudity for the first time.
The other screens that you weren't supposed to be looking at. I remember seeing Temple of Doom, and Gremlins was on one screen, and Ghostbusters was on the other screen. No, actually, it was Gremlins that I was seeing at the drive-in, and Temple of Doom was on the other screen, and Ghostbusters.
It's hard to even remember.
Yeah, it gets scrambled.
Last movie I saw at the drive-in was a double feature. I think it was Fantastic Four with the Silver Surfer, whatever movie that was.
Rise of the Silver Surfer.
And might have been playing with the Simpsons movie.
That sounds maybe about right.
Maybe Spider-Man. See, it's hard for me to remember. I remember seeing the Simpsons movie at the drive-in, but I was really drunk.
Last movie I saw at the drive-in was Zach and Miri Make a Porno.
It's touching things again.
It's like this paper bag slowly creeping down in between boxes over there. It's odd for those of you at home wondering.
What's going on here?
Tuesday is the new MST3K set.
Yeah.
Volume 27, I think it is, or 26. It's one of those. I'll have to be picking that up on Tuesday.
They ever release the third season of Different Strokes?
I think they did, yeah. Season 4 should be out by now or soon.
Yeah.
A different company picked up the rights finally, and they're going to release the remainder of it. Because for years, it was just the first 2 seasons of Different Strokes was all you could get on DVD. An outrage. That show ran, 10 years?
You know, it'd be interesting to see, all the Love Boats.
I think the Love Boat is on DVD.
Because there's, everybody that was ever anybody was on the Love Boat.
Watch
if you
that
were,
every
if you were a
Saturday night.
celebrity, you were on the Love Boat, at least one episode.
I vividly remember
Maybe
watching
a lot
that.
of episodes.
Yeah, the Love Boat followed by Fantasy Island on Saturday nights. That seemed to be the staple for years.
That was the shit.
That's what you did. I don't know what was on the other channels. What was up against the Love Boat? I don't know. I wasn't watching it. It never even entered into my head to change the channel during that.
Because anybody who was on another show was probably on the Love Boat.
And you know what was on before the Love Boat, for a while at least, was that Donnie and Marie Osmond show.
Oh, I used to love that. See, that was probably the channel I was watching.
Yeah.
The Variety Hour. Back when there were variety hours.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. Before YouTube, before everything, they had to consolidate. They had to figure out ways to get your money. They hadn't already figured it out. Now they pretty much have figured it out. Yeah.
I remember watching that, reading the first issue of People magazine.
That's crazy. How old were you?
Oh, it was probably about 4, about the time, 3 or 4.
People magazine.
Yeah, well, that just barely had hit the newsstands. I remember we had issue 1 through 20 for a while.
I remember I was in my room. I had a little black and white TV. And I remember when Elvis died.
I remember that.
And I was it was just everything was surreal because I was little and I used to hide in my garbage can, when I was small enough to fit in a little tiny garbage can. 6 or 7. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think they broke into the television.
That's how I used to watch
Elvis died.
I'd be up really late watching David Letterman on the black and white TV when I was supposed to be asleep.
I remember in high school they got rid of David Letterman and they had what the hell was that show called? They replaced it with something. It wasn't Chevy Chase. It was something like that. You know what I mean? Should really think about these stories before I start telling them. And me and my friend used to love David Letterman, and we'd call in to the TV station and be like, "Put up David Letterman back on," and they'd be just like, "Yeah, leave us alone, kids, podcast bastards." I forget what the fucking show was.
Yeah,
that was back when there was still a Hardee's in this town.
I remember Hardee's. That's where I used to get my little Gremlins books from and shit. Where your Happy Meal would come with vinyl. You get vinyl in your Happy Meal, a little 45.
Those were the days.
Or we usually just got the glasses,
Thinking about starting a podcast with me and Brady called Old Guys with Beards.
There you go.
But I don't know how we're going to produce it. And
I could do a whole podcast about just collecting fast food glasses in the 80s. We'll start with the Muppets and go from there.
You still have them?
I might have 1 or 2.
Isn't like you got a warehouse or
oh no, they all
unit?
broke. I have stories about when they would break. I remember
stories.
I remember the Great Muppet Caper glass. Well, I'll leave you with this for the week. Or the one where Gonzo was in the hot air balloon.
Oh, sure.
And see, I'd only had 2 or 3 of that one because we'd only gone to McDonald's a couple times that week, as opposed to the week before where it was the Happiness Hotel van that Dr. Teeth was driving. I have 20 of that glass, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember either dropping it or somebody else broke it next to the swimming pool. And it was
supposed to have glass by the swimming pool.
So, well, there went that glass.
Wow. Collectible glasses. They still do some of that stuff, I think.
Yeah.
All right.